Chapter 7, Impose Their Hospitality. What is your relationship with Xiao Ru?
The scariest part was not meeting a familiar face while trying to keep a low profile. The scariest part was when that familiar face had no intention of parting once the meeting was over and instead showed great interest in sticking around for a few days. According to Xiao Ru, she had come to Sanlin City to review the viewing conditions for her company's film crew. Since the Ye family was in Sanlin City, she planned to enjoy their hospitality for a few days. After all, the familiarity of the family was more comfortable than a cold hotel room. Besides, she hadn't seen her girlfriend, Ye Shuang, in a very long time. When Ye Shuang heard this, she almost cried. It's like this. Thinking that it was because she had appeared too wolfish that she had failed to convince the handsome man to her cause, Xiao Ru decided to take it easy. After all, with Mother Yi present, she wasn't afraid of the handsome man slipping away. Therefore, after clearing her mind, she explained to Mother Yi the reason for her sudden appearance. She smiled and said, I actually came here to buy a gift before visiting Aunt Luo and Uncle Yi, but the world is so small, isn't it? By the way, Shuang should be at home because of today's vacation, right? Even though the age difference was rather large, the relationship between Ye Shuang and Xiao Ru was rather friendly. After all, Ye Shuang had gotten many celebrity endorsements from her, and whenever she went abroad for work, Xiao Ru would buy souvenirs for the Yi family. They had a very good impression of her. Therefore, her request to stay in the Yi family's house was not out of place. To openly reject her was incredibly rude and inappropriate. Ye Shuang looked away with disappointment as it was something beyond her control. Aunt Yi, who was planning to discuss this with her daughter, gritted her teeth. Xiao Ru, of course, was not aware of the nonverbal communication that was happening between the mother-daughter pair. Mother Yi did not say a word, but she did not mind. Instead, she took out her phone, a gesture that made Ye Shuang shiver with fear, and said, if it's not convenient right now, how about I call Ye Shuang for a shopping trip and go visit her later? Mother Yi still hadn't fully recovered from her shock, and Ye Shuang was still stunned. Before either of them could do anything, the next second, Xiao Ru pressed the speed dial. Ye Shuang felt as if tears were welling up in his eyes. When the familiar ringing sound came out of the pocket of the pants Ye Shuang had just changed from, Xiao Ru didn't understand the implication at first, but after a while, she squinted her eyes in suspicion. If I say I accidentally took the wrong phone, will you believe me? Ye Shuang laughed awkwardly. Of course, Xiao Ru believed her, well, half believed her anyway. Are you sure you didn't take it on purpose? Faced with the handsome man's confused expression, Xiao Ru had her own speculation in mind. After settling on a thought, she pushed her phone back into her bag and asked, or I should ask, what is your relationship with Shuang? Mother Yi and Ye Shuang both pretended not to hear her. Their reaction seemed to have confirmed Xiao Ru's thought. Are the two of you really lovers? After the chaotic meeting, Mother Yi brought Ye Shuang and many bags of clothes back home alongside an excited Xiao Ru. Ye Shuang had a bad feeling in the pit of her stomach as she realized that their house did not have enough space to accommodate an extra person. The Yi family home had 3 bedrooms and 2 living spaces. Under normal circumstances, Ye Shuang and Ye Feng would each take 1 bedroom, and the Yi parents would share the master bedroom. The division was perfectly correct and fair. If Xiao Ru came, she would naturally share a room with Ye Shuang. This was also how they had bonded over time. However, with a guest in the house, it would be awkward for Ye Shuang to continue staying at home. The biggest problem was, who would she sleep with? With Xiao Ru. Mother Yi couldn't guarantee that this woman wouldn't force herself on her precious daughter in her sleep. Sleeping with her little brother. Even though she had changed sex, she still had a woman's heart. She couldn't do such a thing. Since the Yi family couldn't chase away their guest and couldn't explain the complicated situation, Ye Shuang could see a near future where she had to wander the streets for a few days before the tornado named Xiao Ru subsided. Fortunately, Mother Yi asked her to stay for dinner before slamming the door in her face. However, during dinner, Xiao Ru felt that something was wrong, or more precisely, she felt that something was wrong as soon as she walked through the door. In her mind, she had always had a pretty good relationship with her boyfriend's extended family. In the past, whenever she visited the Yi family, even if they didn't roll out the red carpet to welcome her, they treated her like one of their own. But today, the moment she entered the room, the expressions on Uncle Yi and little brother Ye's faces, as if they had seen a ghost, disturbed her. She felt strangely unwelcome. During dinner, Xiao Ru noticed that the whole Yi family was hiding something from her, but she couldn't figure out what. Pretending not to notice anything wrong, Xiao Ru continued to chat with the Yi family, but as the dinner progressed, she excused herself to go to the bathroom. She could not help but be suspicious of the Yi family. Xiao Ru returned to the table, her heart heavy with concern for the Yi family. As she waited for a lull in the conversation to ask Mother Yi about her possible family concern, she looked up and realized that the handsome man was still sitting at the table. "Mr. Yi, it's getting late, isn't it?" Xiao Ru commented with a smile. The presence of a stranger made it difficult for Xiao Ru to have a heart-to-heart with Mother Yi, so she alluded to Ye Shuang's departure in a roundabout way. Before the dinner started, she had already learned from the Yi family that their daughter was not home, so naturally, there was no reason for her boyfriend to drag on, right? Since Xiao Ru had not heard of this man from Ye Shuang before, it meant that their relationship was quite new. They hadn't had time to bond on such a deep level yet, so naturally, it wasn't his place to interfere in Yi family matters. When Ye Shuang understood the inherent meaning of Xiao Ru's words, she almost burst into tears. Her two parents were speechless. They wanted to say something, but they did not know what, because logically, Xiao Ru was right. Father Yi coughed and said, "I still need to discuss something with Xiao Shuang." Then he turned to Xiao Ru and said gently, "Xiao Ru, make yourself comfortable, Uncle Yi will be back in a little while." The girl had to leave, but where would she go? As Father Yi took her away, Ye Shuang nodded to part ways and followed Father Yi into the office. As the door closed, Father Yi went straight to the point. "Xiao Shuang, are you planning to go to the hotel after this?" "Yes." Ye Shuang replied gloomily. "I will probably have to live outside for a few days or at least until Sister Xiao leaves. Then have you prepared everything? Before your mother came home, she called and said that you bought a new ID card." Father Yi couldn't help but be worried. From their previous experience, Xiao Ru could stay for up to half a month if the situation required it. "But your new ID card isn't ready yet, is it? Which official hotel will accept you?" Ye Shuang felt like crying. "So you want me to sleep on the street?" Father Yi almost sent a slap to his daughter's face. "What nonsense are you talking about? A woman can't sleep alone on the street." "But wait, you're a man now." Ye Shuang gave Father Yi a displeased pout. "Never mind, I'll ask Xiao Feng to accompany you to book a hotel room." Since Father Yi couldn't think of a better option, he decided to send his son to accompany Ye Shuang. At least this way, they could look out for each other. After the decision was made, little brother Yi was summoned into the office. Then he prepared to escort Ye Shuang to the hotel. "Here, don't forget this." Mother Yi placed all the newly purchased bags of clothes in Ye Shuang's arms and didn't forget to remind him, "Don't stay up too late, and playing on the phone too long will hurt your eyes." This separation troubled Xiao Ru.
Chapter 8, The Drunkard. Why is this ruffian group of people so stubborn?
Little brother Yi started to feel tired after accompanying Ye Shuang on a part of the road. If you've ever been around a pretty friend, you should be able to recognize how he felt at that moment. All attention was directed to Ye Shuang. Although little brother Yi could not be said to be ugly, this was the first time he was completely relegated to the background, and he was naturally furious. Among the two siblings, one was feeling depressed because of his dramatic physical changes, and the other was not in the mood because of being treated as if he was invisible. Neither of them had any desire to talk with the other. However, after about 10 minutes of absolute silence, little brother Ye couldn't take it anymore. He opened his lips and was about to say something when Ye Shuang, who was walking ahead of him, suddenly stopped. "Wait, what's going on over there?" Ye Shuang asked hesitantly. Little brother Ye rolled his eyes. "What now?" Following his sister's gaze, he saw a drunken man vomiting on the side of the road, holding the side of a car to support himself in a dark alley. Of course, this was nothing out of the ordinary. In today's world, a little alcohol was to be expected at any social event. Therefore, even if the person vomited blood, it would not have been completely surprising. The main problem was that a few feet away from the man was a group of ruffians walking towards him, and it was obvious that they were not going towards the man out of the goodness of their hearts. Kidnapping. Robbery. Little brother Ye's eyes widened in shock, but after realizing what was going on, he frowned and tugged at Ye Shuang's shirt. He hissed hurriedly, "Sister, let's go. We don't want to be embroiled in this problem." It was not that little brother Ye was particularly cold-hearted, but these days, good Samaritans were often taken advantage of. Unsuspecting individuals were robbed blind when stopped by confused-looking crooks who asked for directions. Ye Shuang had already read about such cases on the internet, so she also hurried before she or little brother Ye were spotted by the ruffians. By this time, the group of ruffians had surrounded the man. The man, even in his drunken state, seemed to retain some of his rationality. As the leading man of the group coughed, the man turned his face to the dim light of the street. With Ye Shuang's enhanced eyesight, she could identify the face that was 20 meters away instantly. What the hell? Ye Shuang unconsciously pulled little brother Ye back. She turned to him in shock. "He's my boss." Well, technically, he was her boss's boss. The new general manager assigned to the branch of the company where she worked, a formidable. Good income, good school, the quintessential successful man of today's company, and the key point was that he was still single. Looking at the big picture, his achievements might not seem like much, but to normal people, especially female workers in the company, Fong Mo was a real catch. "Your boss." Little brother Ye was shocked by the sudden turn of events. However, he quickly recovered. He glanced at Ye Shuang and the man who was surrounded. "Ignore him. After all, he won't be able to recognize you in this state." Ye Shuang began to have doubts. She would have walked away if it was any stranger, but abandoning her boss to the wolf pack seemed a bit too heartless. "I can't do this." Ye Shuang pondered and concluded, "Go find a place to hide, I'll go take a look." "Why on earth are you doing this?" Little brother Ye hissed in anger. He didn't have the same problem as Ye Shuang, because to him, he was indeed a foreigner. "She's not a damsel who needs to be rescued by a prince, is she? He can do just fine, as long as he obediently hands over his money and valuables. Why do you feel the need to stir the honey in the jar?" The man looked experienced enough to know what to do. The group of ruffians were obviously looking for money, so give them what they want. To be honest, if the man refused to surrender, it would be his own problem for being so stubborn. Why should it involve his own sister? Little brother Ye's speculations were not wrong, but he had underestimated the greed of the ruffian group. Before Ye Shuang approached, Fong Mo, who was surrounded by the ruffians, had already thrown away his wallet. Technically, the encounter should end there, but perhaps the too easy process made the ruffians want to go a mile after receiving an inch. They didn't scatter but instead moved closer to the man. Little brother Ye could not hear what was going on, but Ye Shuang, with his enhanced physical body, could hear everything clearly. They asked him for his car keys. Several $1,000s is one thing, but they even wanted his car. If Fong Mo did not defend himself, he was really a carpet for people to walk on. Therefore, it is understandable that a fight would have occurred. The place was quite isolated. Apart from the Yi siblings, who had taken the shortcut road, there was no one around. Even if there were, it was another matter whether they would rush to his aid or not. Ye Shuang finally lost the last bit of patience she had. She pushed little brother Yi to hide behind a car that was parked on the side of the road, while rolling up her sleeves and shouting, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The group of people, including Fang Mo, were shocked by this shout. None of them had expected anyone to rush to Fang Mo's aid. Little brother Yi almost fainted in pure anger, but he quickly jumped out of his hiding place to join Ye Shuang, an action that earned him a warm look from Ye Shuang. As a result, when the group of ruffians turned around, they saw a Greek god descending upon them in a fit of fury, and the young man next to him who was promptly ignored. The handsome man was tall and fit. His height of 184 centimeters would have gotten him noticed anywhere in the world. It almost meant that he had to practically look down on everyone. Ye Shuang walked over to her boss and pulled him by the arm. Then she pushed him towards little brother Yi. The next second, she grabbed onto the telephone pole next to them. As the ruffians, Fang Mo and little brother Yi looked on in shock, Ye Shuang pulled out a piece of the concrete telephone pole as if it were tofu. She threw the cracked piece to the ground and asked, "A mugging in broad daylight?" Of course, it was already late at night, but it was just an expression. Ye Shuang let out a cold chuckle and glared at the gathered band of ruffians. The hoodlums shook with fear. Eagle claws. One of them was apparently a fan of Wuxia novels. Ye Shuang was speechless. Fang Mo could feel the alcohol leaving him, and at that moment, a cold breeze seemed to pass in front of his face, waking him up completely.
Chapter 9, Leave the wallet or you will live. How many women in Wuxia knew how to fight?
Even though Ye Shuang hadn't learned martial arts officially, physically, she was quite intimidating. Anyway, after seeing her break concrete with her bare hands, no one was dumb enough to use their life to test if she was bluffing. Even if she was the clumsiest person the world had ever seen, getting caught anywhere by her claws would not be pleasant. Leave the wallet or your lives. Choose. As Fang Mo looked on in shock and awe, the handsome man slapped the dust from his palms, scanned the group of ruffians from the corner of his eye, and said this sentence calmly. Although the tone was light, the inherent threat was heavy. Fang Mo's eyebrows that were previously blocked by distress began to unfurl. He began to observe this incredibly dazzling man who had come to his rescue. Yes, dazzling. Ever since he was a little boy, the term dazzling had always been used to describe Fang Mo. He wasn't perfect, but examined from every angle, he was more than average, so it wasn't out of place to describe him as dazzling. Knowledgeable, kind, had a respectable career, and came from a good university. In the eyes of his parents and friends, although there may have been the occasional newcomer who caught their attention, the perennial go-getter in their group was always Fang Mo. Just as a genius gets 100 points in his best subject, Fang Mo gets 90 points in all subjects. Therefore, no matter how humble he may appear on the surface, there was a certain pride in Fang Mo. This was reflected in the way he chose his friends, only allowing those he assumed were at least of the same level as him to join his close circle. To his pleasant surprise, he found someone his own age who interested him very much. However, what Fang Mo didn't know was that the handsome man he admired wasn't as confident as he looked. Even though Ye Shuang displayed the pride and boldness of a main character in a wuxia web novel on the surface, internally, she was shivering. No matter how macho she looked, she was ultimately a woman, well, as much as she could be given the situation. How many women in the real world knew how to fight in a street fight? A little slap or a shout during a lover's quarrel aside, what woman had any real martial arts training? If possible, Ye Shuang really didn't want to get involved, but the situation required it. They were vastly outnumbered, and her underdeveloped younger brother and drunken boss had no fighting ability, so her only option was to bluff her way out of it. Ye Shuang's heart trembled, but the group of ruffians trembled even more. The ruffians stared at the broken pieces of cement on the ground. One of them even surreptitiously stepped on a piece just to try it. When it shattered into dust under his light touch, there was a strong cold breath among the group of ruffians. Ye Shuang prayed that it would be enough to scare them. However, what she didn't understand was that it wasn't that they didn't want to leave, but that they didn't dare to leave. That's a common feature of TV shows, isn't it? One of the common pastimes of these kinds of heroes was to beat up the scoundrels on the street. As soon as they turned around, the man would shoot a shuriken into their back. Well, maybe the man wouldn't be crazy enough to carry a concealed weapon on him, but he could just as easily pull out the telephone pole and swing at them like a baseball bat. The standoff continued until the atmosphere became more than awkward. Fong Mo was surprised at how civilized this man was. He could have easily sent all the scoundrels to the hospital. After all, powerful men speak more with their fists than with words, right? However, since this one didn't seem to have any intention of doing so, he didn't think, as the rescued party, that it was fair to give his opinion. After a while, the ruffian's brain started working again, and the first information that was processed was the sentence the handsome man had said earlier. Leave the wallet or F***CK. Of course, leave the wallet. The group quickly responded. Not only did they politely return Fong Mo's wallet, but they also added their own wallets to the mix. As if they were afraid that Ye Shuang wouldn't be satisfied with that, they unloaded everything they had in their pockets for her too. As they did so, they silently thanked God, for the man they had the misfortune to meet was good-natured enough not to break any of their bones. Fong Mo accepted his wallet quietly and was struck by this strange development. Similarly, little brother Yi, who accepted the wallets of the ruffians, had no words to describe the absurdity of the situation. After the group of ruffians withdrew, Fong Mo had almost recovered from his drunkenness. Holding the top of the car for support, his eyebrows rose slightly, and his curious gaze landed on Ye Shuang. Thank you for your help tonight. Fong Mo had originally wanted to ask if he should send them to the hospital, but when he saw how clean Ye Shuang's hands were, he swallowed that question. He took out his business card from the glove compartment of his car and presented it to them politely. It's getting late and I'm sure you're both in a hurry to get home. I'll have to invite you both to a meal in the future as a sign of appreciation. Here is my card. My personal phone number is on it. If you need a lot of help, don't hesitate to call. Fong Mo had completely forgotten about the fact that little brother Yi had taken all the wallets and treated them as model citizens of the new era. Of course, as grateful as he was, he couldn't ask them to join him in his car. He wasn't that close to them. What if they weren't what they seemed? Therefore, an offer like, "Where are you going? How about I take you?" was automatically negated in his mind. From this, it could be said that Fong Mo was the cautious type and would not easily mingle with others in society. By the time Ye Shuang recovered, her boss had already said everything that needed to be said. What she really wanted to say was, but then again, thinking about her current identity, she didn't really express that opinion. You're welcome, anyone else would have done the same thing. Ye Shuang forced a smile, but her heart was bleeding money. By the way, my name is Fong Mo, how should I refer to you two? Fong Mo thought that this was the most polite way to get their names so that he could officially invite them to a restaurant in the future. Ye Shuang cautiously said, I am Ye Shuang. If she wasn't mistaken, she had been caught by her boss just last week for surfing the internet at work. She wondered if he would remember her name. Ye. Fong Mo smiled as if he had more to say, but he only had one word to get out of his mouth before he collapsed weakly to the floor without warning.